Good afternoon, I'm Jacqueline Felgate. It's 4 o'clock and these are our top stories. The stage set for the Premier to reveal the way out of stage 4 as daily case numbers fall. Also, trouble and tension in the suburbs. Police brace for more protests. More money for aged care, but is it enough to save lives in Melbourne's nursing homes? Parents push to get kids back to school amid fears some will be forced to repeat prep. And highways to hell, why congestion will get worse once the pandemic is over.
This is 7's Afternoon News with Jacqueline Felgate.
First at 4, Melbourne families and businesses who are desperate for a roadmap out of stage 4 have at last been told when they can expect an announcement. It comes as the state recorded 73 new coronavirus cases, the lowest figure in 8 weeks. Chanel Vella joins us live now. Chanel, there will be a lot for the Premier to reveal on Sunday.
There sure will be. The plan will be comprehensive, but what we shouldn't expect is exact dates as to when those restrictions will lift. The plan will be more about what it will look like when that happens. But who should expect more information? Well, it'll be those industries that were largely closed down during stage 4. Cafes, bars and restaurants, as well as the beauty industry, will get more clarity about what those easings of restrictions will look like. But the high-risk industries, such as the meatworks, they can expect those stringent rules to remain. There will be more information, however, for parents about what term 4 will look like, but I wouldn't get my hopes up about travelling during school holidays. The Premier has made it clear we need to protect those regional areas. And as for having family over for dinner or friends over for dinner, we shouldn't expect that too soon either. Those large family gatherings, the Premier has pointed out, they contributed to the second wave. It's more likely we'll be seeing families in cafes and restaurants before we welcome them into our homes. Let's take a listen to the Premier here.
Now, a week feels, and indeed is, a long time locked at home, but it's also a very lengthy period of time when it comes to understanding what this virus is doing. It moves fast, it does so silently, and as we've seen quite a bit of commentary today, particularly comments made by the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in Canberra, the numbers are too high for us to open at this time. It is also very, very challenging for us today to predict with any certainty where we're going to be in a week or 2 weeks.
As for our daily number, there is some good news there, just 73 new cases. However, there were 41 deaths. There was some clarity around that number. 33 of those are historical deaths from aged care. They were recorded in the past few months and those numbers have just been reconciled. The Chief Health Officer says we can expect deaths to stay in the single digits from this point on. Jack.
Chanel Vella, thank you. Police are bracing for more pop-up protests in Melbourne's outer suburbs as lockdown anger boils over. Cassie Zervos is in Roxburgh Park for us this afternoon. Cassie, has there been any sign of trouble yet?
Good afternoon, Jackie. Well, things are calm now, but we have seen how quickly it can erupt. Yesterday, up to 30 men who call themselves the Resistance gathered here in the northern suburbs. They marched down busy Pascoe Road, antagonising police, destroying property and blocking traffic. 3 people, including a 17-year-old boy, were fined. Now, when asked why they gathered here in such a big number, they simply said they were here to do their 1 hour of exercise. Some even questioned whether COVID-19 is real. So it's just a coincidence that you're all here together?
Well, I don't know, we do our daily walks anyways, all day, every day.
Every day for the past week, we have seen similar protests in Dandenong and they gathered again last night. 5 people were fined. We are expected to see similar scenes both here and in Dandenong later this afternoon. And on Saturday, a larger event is planned for Melbourne CBD. Now, this all comes just a few days after one of Melbourne's top cops slammed these activists, calling them the Tinfoil Hat Brigade. Jack.
Cassie Zervos for us live there. Thank you. The hotel quarantine inquiry has been told hotels didn't receive detailed information about cleaning for more than 2 months. The Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions had 48 hours in late March to find suitable hotels for mandatory quarantine.
It was a challenge for us, right across the board. Everything from a day-to-day arrivals of international travellers to get an accurate sense of numbers of those who are actually arriving.
Mr Menon told the inquiry the hotels were expected to clean rooms to COVID-19 standard, but specialised cleaning information wasn't given to hotels until mid-June. South Australia is hoping to win back the Grand Prix if it can't be held in Melbourne next year. The owners of the Bend Motorsport Park at Talon Bend say they could be ready for Formula One. The circuit already hosts V8 supercars.
I think South Australia stands ready. We're not going over to poach, but we stand ready with a fantastic track in South Australia.
The Grand Prix was held in Adelaide for 11 years from the mid-80s. Melbourne parents have started a petition to get students back into the classroom for the start of Term 4. They say online education is unsustainable and damaging their children. Jodie Lee has more.
As a result of COVID-19 and the Stage 4 lockdown, Victorian students have missed more face-to-face learning than any other Australian children. And as Term 3 draws to a close, a group of Melbourne mums have banded together to call for change. Phoebe Rolliston and her friends have launched a petition on change.org that has already garnered more than 2,000 signatures. The mothers are demanding Victorian schools reopen in time for Term 4.
The fact that there's been no debate around the issue, that there's been no substantial evidence presented by the state government before they've made these decisions is what's prompted my concern.
The women are concerned about the emotional effects of lockdown on young children. They say they've seen noticeable changes in their children since they haven't been able to socialise and haven't had the stimulation of the classroom. They're also deeply concerned about the long-term effects lockdown will have on their youngsters.
We haven't had any studies or evidence to show this yet, but I'd like that to be looked into because I feel that it isn't something they'll just bounce back from.
While Stage 4 is due to end in 2 weeks' time, we still don't know what the next phase will look like and whether the state government is considering reopening classrooms.
Embattled Aged Care Minister Richard Colbeck has announced an extra $500 million in pandemic funding for his sector. The money should better protect aged care facilities from the virus. We'll go live to Tim Lester in Canberra. Good afternoon, Tim. This comes as Labor pushes for the minister to be sacked.
Yes, Jackie, the now infamous Colbeck mental block happened 10 days ago. The aged care minister unable to tell a parliamentary hearing how many elderly Australians have died of COVID-19. Labor is just not letting go of it. They've pursued the minister in question time again this afternoon. This after Senator Colbeck and the Health Minister Greg Hunt committed $563 million to extend aged care COVID-19 programs.
Today's announcement demonstrates the work that I am doing to ensure that residents in aged care across Australia get the support that they need through this COVID-19 pandemic.
Why does the current aged care minister still have his job?
Because under this aged care minister, $1.5 billion of additional support has been put into the aged care sector during the COVID-19 crisis.
And Tim, the Federal Treasurer now says Victoria's management of the pandemic has been a litany of failures.
Jackie, Josh Frydenberg spent much of yesterday, as you'll know, hammering the Andrews government for what he sees as its failure to develop a plan to lead the state out of its Stage 4 lockdown. Today, he's hit that issue harder with some Treasury forecasts. They suggest 60% of all Australians relying on JobKeeper wage subsidies through the December and March quarters will be Victorians.
As the Federal Treasurer, I am seeing the economic cost of what is transpiring in Victoria. This has to be the biggest public policy failure by a state government in living memory.
And the Chief Medical Officer was asked this afternoon to comment on whether Victoria is moving quickly enough out of its Stage 4 lockdown. Far from backing the federal position, Professor Kelly says he's noted Victoria is taking it slow and steady. Jackie.
Tim Lester, live for us in Canberra. Thank you. Melbourne's traffic gridlock is expected to get even worse when COVID restrictions are finally lifted. Tegan Doling joins us live. Tegan, you've got new details on some research out today.
Well, that research was carried out by a team of experts at Monash University, and they've found that public transport usage is only going to return to around 80% of pre-pandemic levels. Now, that obviously means that the number of cars on our roads is going to increase, so too is congestion. Now, this is because Melburnians fear they'll catch the virus with social distancing close to impossible on trams, trains and buses. One thing that might help though, 1 in 5 commuters won't travel into the city at all, largely because they'll continue working from home even as life returns to normal. And more people are also expected to jump on their bikes, with cycling to increase to around 55%. Jackie?
Tegan Doling reporting live there. Thank you. There's hope Victoria will be spared a horror bushfire season, with research predicting conditions will be relatively normal. The quarterly outlook released today suggests above average rainfall has reduced the risk of a horror season like last summer. But authorities are warning the prediction is no cause for complacency. Thieves pull off a massive building site heist. That's ahead on 7 News. Also, the police call for emergency powers to be extended amid safety concerns. And later, putting masks through their paces. Would yours pass the test? We're back soon across Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania.
When no one is who they seem.
I cannot accept what we did.
Could you see through their lies?
They're still stuck in the walls and you just don't see it.
On the home of Great British Mysteries. Foyle's War, tonight on 7/2.
Dealing with COVID has been nothing like I've ever experienced before. I have 2 little boys and I decided to isolate away from them. They're with their dad half the time and they're with my parents. Being separated from them for 5 or 6 weeks now has been incredibly hard. If you're thinking about bending the rules, think about who you love most in this world and think about them in ICU.
At Mavers, we make the best tasting spreads for all Australian families. We simply roast and crush fresh peanuts with a dash of sea salt. Mavers peanut butter tastes so good it goes with almost anything, and sometimes with nothing.
The 100% Aussie beef in Macca's Burgers comes from farms like David's in Queensland.
My family supplies 100% Aussie beef to McDonald's.
Thanks, David. Macca's hot, juicy, tasty burgers.
How well your kitchen performs depends what's under the hood. Unlike range hoods with mesh filters, Wispair's S-Flow baffle filtration system means grease doesn't clog, maximising extraction, minimising noise. Proudly Australian Wispair. Available in-store and online.
I've got 7 brothers and sisters, and Mum brought all of us up on our own. We weren't well-to-do financially, but we're probably well-to-do as a family. I think we learn who we are from the life lessons we get taught in life, especially the hard lessons. You know, we're not the biggest store in the world by any means, but we decided to put some stools out the front and we put 4 out because there's 4 old fellas that land on our doorstep at 5:45 every morning and have done for the last 15, 20 years. And those 4 old fellas, gee whiz, they're as close to family for me because I see those guys every single day of my life. You know, everyone looks out for each other.
Father's Day 2020. Usually a safe pair of hands, but Dad's all thumbs today. Looks for an opening. There it is. And he scored! Whew, that's going to be hard to beat.
Give Dad something to cheer about with Instant Scratch-Its.
And where down we go, oh, baby.
Acqua di Gio Profondo, the new intensity, Giorgio Armani.
Discover your signature scent.
I am my store.
Hi, thanks for calling HIF. You're speaking to HIF. What does HIF stand for? Great Value Health Cover. Oh, you mean the letters. The Health Insurance Fund of Australia. Yeah, we've been around for over 65 years. And that's human years, not dog years. Never mind. Now, can I fetch you a quote?
At Spotlight, life's what you make it, with 40% off neutrals, curtains and blinds, 50% off the entire range of faux wood Venetian blinds, and 50% off cane block-out curtains, so you can open it, roll it and keep it warm for less. Sale on now. At Spotlight, it's what you make it.
The Police Association is backing the state government's plan to extend Victoria's state of emergency. For more on this, we're joined by Secretary Wayne Gatt. Wayne, thank you again for joining us today. How will extending the state of emergency better protect Victorians?
Well, everything that the police are doing at the present time, police and PSOs, I should say, hangs off the state of emergency provisions. That's what empowers the CHO to make the directions. That's where authorised officers have their powers, and without it, simply wouldn't be able to do the job that they've been doing, the great job they've been doing over the past 5 months into the future in 13 days' time.
What's your response to what we've seen over the past 24 hours with certain residents of Melbourne disregarding the stage 4 lockdown and really putting police in danger?
Oh, we continue to see the 1% in the community, but they're loud and they're noisy, and now they're an annoying 1%. These are people that don't care about anybody other than themselves. Look, Victorians as a whole in the community are nearly there. We can see the figures coming down each and every day when we see the Premier's briefings on our TV screens. We want to get there. We want to get there quickly. And all we see with these groups are people that are standing in the way of us getting on with the rest of our lives.
Last time we spoke to you, you mentioned the number of officers that actually were suffering from coronavirus. How are those officers doing and what are numbers like now?
I don't have the current figures today, but I know that at any given time we'll have a handful of members that are in quarantine. And these are people that, for no other reason other than their work, are unable to see their families. We've had members in hotel quarantine whilst their babies have been born. This is really sad. It's really unfortunate. But our members are continuing to do this important work in the community every day of the week. And we hope the community stays and continues to support them. We hope that our politicians support them as well by passing this important legislation that will mean that they have the powers to finish the job that they started.
And we did hear the Assistant Commissioner say last week, the way he described some of these protesters that you're having to deal with as, for want of a better word, crazy. You'd have to agree with that, wouldn't you?
Look, I think the Assistant Commissioner is simply describing the way all of us feel. Look, we're fed up when we see people like this in the community. We're fed up when we hear their pitiful excuses. All we want to do is, collectively as a community, get through the tail end of this. We can all see the light at the end of the tunnel. We all know what we have to do to get there. Now all we need is for these sorts of people to get out of the way so that we can actually exit this lockdown and get back on with the COVID normal.
Yeah, I think everyone would agree with that. Wayne Gatt, thank you again for your time this afternoon.
Thanks very much.
A man has been cut from the wreckage of a car following a nasty head-on crash at Werribee around 11 o'clock last night. The 32-year-old was airlifted to hospital. The driver of the other vehicle was also injured. A 14-tonne excavator valued at $200,000 has been stolen from Laverton North. The brazen theft from a Leaks Road construction site happened around 6:30 on the morning of August 19. In a sign, the heist was carefully planned. The offenders used a white prime mover and low loader to take the excavator away. A World War II veteran honoured 75 years after serving his country. That's coming up on 7 News. Also, the president accused of stirring up hate as protesters clash in the US. And could the pandemic force our preps to repeat their first year of school? Stay with us right here on 7.
As you're waking,
live pictures from our news chopper.
Know what's breaking.
Ferocious storm in Melbourne.
The team Australia trusts are on Sunrise.
If you've been injured at work or on the road and your income has been affected, you need advice now. Contact Shine Lawyers to access compensation through your superannuation.
I can't afford to be off work.
Shine Lawyers. Let's right wrong.
What is money for, if not for getting you through tough times? If you're facing financial difficulty, get in touch with us as soon as possible so we can help. NAB, more than money.
Australia, the
little treehouse is alive at Coles. And to celebrate, you can instantly win a share of millions of prizes guaranteed. Like awesome treetop adventures in a real-life luxury treehouse. Or your own backyard treehouse. There's adventure activities, gift vouchers and more. To win, simply purchase 3 participating products in one transaction. Enter the code on your receipt online and you're guaranteed to win. Coles, good things, great value.
When pain and fever symptoms strike, a kiss can make them feel better. But for effective relief through the night, there's Nurofen for children. Starts to reduce fever from 15 minutes, lasts for up to 8 hours, and is trusted by 9 out of 10 Australian parents.
Maltesers buttons. Find them in store now.
Right now, access breaking news online with the Herald Sun and get the newspaper home delivered 7 days a week for just $25 a month for the first 3 months. We've got you covered during lockdown. Call 1800 323 444 now.
What if I get coronavirus?
How do I do my rehab now?
Why is it so hard to get out of bed? COVID-19 is impacting us all differently, which is why we've introduced Medibank COVID-19 Health Assist. With direct access to hundreds of healthcare experts, eligible members can receive health advice and support from their homes at no extra cost. Visit medibank.com.au to see how we're providing better support for our members.
Anaconda stores are currently closed in line with Victorian COVID-19 restrictions. You can still shop online 24/7 at anacondastores.com with free delivery for online orders over $99 and safe and secure contact-free click and collect.
Anaconda!
A veteran principal says the majority of Victoria's prep students would be better off repeating their first year of school because of time missed during the pandemic. Dandenong North Primary School's Kevin Mckay joins us now. Kevin, thank you for your time. How behind are your foundation children?
Just before I answer that question, I'd like to go back a little bit. I don't say the majority of prep should be repeating. I say that some of them should be starting again. Because you can't repeat what you haven't already done, and they haven't already done a lot of the learning that they should have done in prep, so it would be starting again. And now I've forgotten your original question.
That's all right. I'm going to ask you, why do you think they need to? What are they missing out on because of the pandemic?
Look, preps in particular, because they're very young children, there's something called a language acquisition device, which is peculiar to very young children. They can make all the sounds of all the languages in the world when a baby is born. Yeah. And over time, children lose the ability to replicate those sounds or to make those sounds. So as they get older, they can't say some of the sounds in some of the languages because they haven't used them. It's the classic case of use it or lose it. Yeah. And in particular, 5 and 6 year olds have a very strong language acquisition capability, and that's the time where they need to learn the decoding skills of phonics, the vocabulary building skills, and more importantly, the oral language skills that, and you can only do that by practicing and listening to other people and using them. And in our case, we have 90% of their students who are from non-English speaking backgrounds. Yeah. And children in many homes where the parents don't speak English either or don't speak English all that well, not through any fault of their own, they just haven't had the opportunity to learn. The children haven't been practicing their oral language skills. And as much as you might think that remote learning will make a difference, it can't make a difference if the children are not practicing those really critical oral language skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about the socialisation of particularly young children, not just in prep, but those younger years as well, where they're learning to be away from their parents for the first time, really? They're missing out on that, aren't they?
Well, they are. And we recall when they started this year, there's always the first 2 or 3 weeks where children are very scared in many cases to be their parents and not knowing how to relate to other children. We got through that formative period and got to a stage where the kids were engaged really wonderfully in their learning. And then that was disrupted, and then they came back after the first lockdown stage, and we did notice some behavioural changes then that it took us a little while to recover from that, because the kids weren't used to sharing as much as they had been before they left school.
It's a very tough situation, isn't it, for such young children? Kevin, we do really appreciate your thoughts this afternoon. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Donald Trump is being accused of inflaming tensions in the US city of Portland, where a man was shot dead at a protest. The local mayor is furious, as David Woywood reports.
The Mayor of Portland has come out swinging at President Donald Trump, who he blames for yet another night of bloody violence on the streets. Police are hunting a gunman after a man was shot dead following a tense standoff between a pro-Trump group and Black Lives Matter demonstrators. The victim was wearing the insignia of far-right group the Patriot Prayer, and today the Mayor of Portland said the President was to blame for the escalation in violence.
Do you seriously wonder, Mr. President, why this is the first time in decades that America has seen this level of violence? It's you who have created the hate and the division.
Donald Trump returned with a series of tweets saying Ted Wheeler was a wacky, radical left, do-nothing Democrat mayor of Portland, adding Portland will never recover with a fool for a mayor. From one city in crisis to another, the President announcing he'll visit Kenosha this week after a week of violent protests. The mayor of that town also not rolling out the red carpet.
From my perspective, right now is not the time. Presidents and are always welcome in the community, but the timing, I think, is not really a very good timing.
The President's travel plans described as provocative as he touts his law and order credentials just 64 days out from the election.
The US President's son-in-law and White House senior advisor Jared Kushner is in Israel, formalising a deal that will see the Jewish state establish official ties with the United Arab Emirates.
This opens the door for what I can only call unbridled trade, tourism, investments, and you will see how the sparks fly on this. It's already happening.
The US delegation will join the first commercial flight to the Emirates from Israel, taking off tomorrow. And Elon Musk's SpaceX has launched the Falcon 9 rocket with an Argentinian satellite on board. It blasted off and headed south, the first to travel in that direction since 1969. Just 8 minutes later, the rocket made a perfect landing a short distance from where it took off. Sam Newman under fire for supporting lockdown protests. That's ahead on 7 News. Also, we'll ask an expert, are our COVID case numbers falling fast enough? And how this child survived a wild ride. We're back in just a couple of minutes.
There's only one thing that can stop this cop finding a killer. The cop's wife.
Let me buy you a drink. You're hitting on the detective's missus. I know what I'm doing.
This is so dangerous.
You're playing with fire. Everybody knows who her husband is. This is gonna work for us.
Wicked gonna come.
Home and Away, this week at 7 on 7.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
At Mavers, we make the best tasting spreads for all Australian families. We simply roast and crush fresh peanuts with a dash of sea salt. Mavers peanut butter tastes so good it goes with almost anything, and sometimes with nothing.
Today's pace can take a toll. It's why we developed Panadol Rapid, absorbed 2 times faster than regular Panadol tablets. and why every positive change can make a difference. Together, let's rethink care.
New Pepsi Max Mango. Max taste, no sugar.
How's that for serenity?
Can care be better at home?
Oh, it's sanctuary. Your home's a bit of a sanctuary. Yeah, for me, rehab at home, it gave me a huge amount of flexibility to be able to do the things I wanted to do. It allowed me to unstress and be in the moment in your house in your own comfort zone, which was really good for me and my state of mind.
Search Medibank at home to see how we're creating better choices for our members.
Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager, returning a current variable rate of 4.5% reviewed monthly on a 12-month investment. Make your money work harder for you. Call 13 80 10.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
This is 7's Afternoon News with Jacqueline Felgate.
Good afternoon again. Our top stories this Monday. The stage set for the Premier to reveal the way out of stage 4 as daily case numbers fall. More money for aged care, but is it enough to save lives in Melbourne's nursing homes? Parents push to get kids back to school amid fears some will be forced to repeat prep. And highways to hell, why congestion will get worse once the pandemic is over. Football great Sam Newman says he'll be among protesters attending an anti-lockdown rally this weekend. But the Premier has warned against the demonstrations, saying the action puts lives and the reopening of the economy at risk. Paul Dowsley reports.
Dandenong continues to be a flashpoint suburb in Melbourne for protests. 4 more fines were handed out here yesterday, and at the same time in the northern suburb of Broadmeadows, dozens of young men in Guy Fawkes masks were roaming the streets together despite the Chief Health Officer's directions outlawing gatherings during our stage 5 lockdown. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm confused. Did I run? 3 were arrested and will be fined. That group, calling themselves the Resistance, is vowing to march in the city this Saturday and hoping thousands will join them. Melbourne identity Sam Newman says he is likely to be among them.
I'd like them to gather and say, almost as Peter Finch once said famously, we've had enough and we're not putting up with any more of it.
But the Victorian Premier says relief is coming, promising to finally reveal his government's plan for us coming out of our second wave, how we can visit friends again and travel outside our local areas. This morning he also announced 73 new cases, that's our lowest since July 3, plus 8 more deaths and another 33 unreported deaths that haven't been released until now due to a backlog in the aged care system from over the past couple of weeks. So this weekend in Melbourne is set to be eventful with the protest on Saturday and then finally some clarity about Victoria's future on Sunday.
Melbourne's roadmap out of stage 4 is set for release on Sunday after Victoria recorded its lowest daily case figure in 8 weeks. For her thoughts, we are joined by University of New South Wales epidemiologist Mary Louise McLaws. Professor, thank you again for your time this afternoon. You're urging Daniel Andrews to stay the course of this lockdown for another 11 days.
That's right. So looking at the 14-day average change, I use 14 days because that's twice an incubation period, and that's what you do for outbreak investigation. The numbers have been declining very well at about 200 each day for that average 2-week period change. And if he holds on for 11 more days, he will get back to a green zone, but he has to hold on. And then in 11 days, if that's correct, and it has been consistently decreasing, then you can open up much more restrictions and have life back to nearly normal.
And when we talk about that opening up, can you talk us through the traffic light hotspot system? How would it work if it's implemented here in Victoria, and what does it actually mean?
So what I do is I look at the numbers over that 2 incubation period, And the numbers between 0 and 59, small numbers, but it basically means we're close to elimination, so it's green. Everything's good. You've still got to keep a distance from people you don't know or share your household with, and wear a mask in public transport. When it's 60 to 99 over a 2-week period, so it's still very low, that's amber. And that's telling you that the numbers are starting to creep up. And with our human resourcing for really good rapid contact tracing, because you've got to get every single contact before day 3 after they've been exposed, because they can become infectious. So you start putting that in place, and you start then putting in some restrictions, such as public mask wearing, some maybe curfew, etc., and maybe reducing the number in restaurants or bars. And you never get to the alert red, which Victoria has been in since June, and that's 100 plus.
Yeah, far too long. And there have been 112 new infections that can't actually be linked to any outbreaks. So do you think, therefore, the road out of this lockdown is going to be a slow one, and a lot slower than most people would hope?
They're unusual, and it suggests many things. It either suggests that they can't work out who they've been in contact with, because by the time the authorities find them, it's too late, or they may have inadvertently broken the rules. And this is where all parliamentarians need to get together and to support these restrictions across the board without politicising anything, because otherwise you won't get out of this issue, of this lockdown.
Yeah, interesting advice. As always, Mary Louise McLaws, thank you again for your time this afternoon.
Well,
7 News has had an exclusive tour inside the country's only accredited mask testing facility. The CSIRO tests every type of mask to ensure they're safe and bearable to wear.
We visited Australia's only accredited mask testing facility, the CSIRO, where today single-use masks are under the microscope.
The products we're testing are surgical type masks like the one I'm wearing now, and these are actually provided into the healthcare industry for use by surgeons at the highest level, level 3, general use in hospitals, and also the general public at level 1 if they choose.
The most extreme test squirts synthetic blood at the mask to simulate a mishap during surgery.
And what we're looking for is to see whether blood squirted at a certain velocity will actually penetrate through a mask.
The second test checks how effectively the mask stops people spreading germs through the air.
We generate an aerosol that contains bacteria, and we pass that through the mask at a certain flow rate. And that's an important performance criteria for the mask, because it determines how much protection they provide from potential cross-contamination between people as they're breathing or talking or sneezing or coughing.
While the third and final test is about wearability.
We pump air through at a certain flow rate, which imitates the quantity of air that a person breathes at rest.
The CSIRO doesn't comment publicly on which masks to avoid. Needless to say, these examples don't meet their scientific standards.
These masks have been tested to a very high level of performance, and if someone in the general public decided to use one, they could be assured that these products would be providing very high levels of protection.
Nathan Templeton, 7 News.
Thousands of people have been able to buy their first homes thanks to a helping hand from the federal government. But they've been warned an interest rate rise could be on the way. Here's Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton.
Good afternoon. 1 in 8 first home buyers access the government's first home loan deposit scheme in the 6 months since its launch, with nearly 2/3 purchasing a home in a major city. The scheme allows 10,000 first home buyers each year to purchase with only a 5% deposit. Single applicants must be earning no more than $125,000 a year, and couples no more than $200,000.
The benefit of the first home buyer scheme is that you can get your foot on the housing ladder earlier than normal. So usually you need a 20% deposit to buy a home without paying extra insurance.
70% of buyers chose a detached house and on average ended up nearly 8 kilometres away from their existing home. The median house price was $385,000. But experts urge caution over the high debt load, particularly if variable mortgage interest rates reverse their downward trend and begin to rise.
If you are going to purchase a home with only a 5% deposit, you're paying that extra 15% as part of your mortgage cost. And over the full course of the loan, you'll be paying back about double of that to the bank.
The Reserve Bank is expected to keep the official interest rate on hold at the record low rate of 0.25% tomorrow. Many anticipate the RBA will keep it at that level for some years and not raise it before inflation and the jobs market have started a solid recovery.
A 3-year-old girl is incredibly lucky to be alive after being swept into the air by a large kite. This shocking video was captured during a festival in Taiwan. Onlookers screamed as the toddler was flung 10 metres into the air, but she managed to cling on long enough to drift back towards the ground. She was caught, but relieved parents rushed to her side and found the girl in shock but uninjured. Remarkable pictures. Time for sport now with Sean Salby. And Sean, the AFL has denied a fixture reshuffle. It's fascinating.
Yes, Jack. North Melbourne has been denied a lucrative offer. We're live with all the details next. Plus, a sore Carlton skipper checks in for scans after a brutal hit yesterday. And a controversial call as Melbourne City falls agonisingly short of a maiden championship.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed.
Losing my mum at the age of 12, shutting down all of my emotions, has had a quite serious effect.
The royal family go on the record, only now revealing the events that took an incredible toll on the Queen. Inside the Crown, Tuesday at 9 on 7.
Is that your dog?
It's the neighbour's dog. Will my insurance cover this?
Not looking good, I'm afraid.
Budget Direct would have provided you with temporary accommodation for up to a year while they repaired it.
Good dog.
Get temporary accommodation for up to a year. With Budget Direct, you've got insurance solved.
Oh, should I? With great flavour and 50% less fat, it's easy to say, oh yes. Go on. Say yes to new Smith's Oven Baked.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time, plus unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
We spend half our lives preparing food, so have light and easy.
It's saving time that you can spend together, but also knowing you're still getting a really nice meal that's healthy.
We swear by it. We really do.
New Schwarzkopf Biotech Pro Balance combines the latest hair technology with prebiotic actives and birch water to nourish hair and scalp. New Biotech Pro Balance.
So we've got like car payments, rent.
You losers budgeting again?
We can finance if we want to.
We can leave our friends behind.
Get on top of your money with ANZ's Financial Wellbeing Check-In.
Did you draw all these?
A gorilla.
Who draws?
It's a lonely haystack.
It's a beetle.
One and only Ivan. Streaming now on Disney+.
Winning a share of 25 grand could be as easy as cooking up a storm with Coles What's for Dinner. With a stack of Coles shopping vouchers up for grabs, you'll be creating delicious quality meals like our teams at home. Be watching Plate of Origin on 7 for the nightly code word for your chance to win.
Hello again. The Eagles' bid to buy North Melbourne's Round 18 home game has been knocked back by the AFL. Tom Brown is on the Gold Coast. Tom, both clubs are coincidentally staying at the same hotel up there.
They are, Sean, at Sanctuary Cove. West Coast and North made a joint submission to the AFL for their Round 18 floating game to be played back in Perth. It would have got North upwards of $700,000 or $800,000 in revenue. They're foregoing $3 or $4 million from not playing in Tasmania this year. It would have been handy, but the AFL's ruled in favour of fixture integrity, not prepared for a situation where West Coast would have ended up with 8 home games this year. It's obviously not good for North's bottom line, but it will help their chances, you think, of beating West Coast. Their unlikely chances. This was Alistair Clarkson's observation on the request today.
For the teams that are competing with West Coast, in terms of a spot in a finals position, I think they might be a bit aggrieved.
Good decision, and Tom Blues skipper Patrick Cripps has had a scan on his sore knee.
Sean, Paddy Cripps, he's a champion. He stopped by, good enough to stop by for a chat this afternoon with us when he had that scan on the right knee. I think that's a precautionary scan at this stage. He's also reached out to Chris Mayne, completely fair bump, but he crunched Mayne yesterday, Mayne ending up with a suspected fractured cheekbone. This was Cripps a short time ago.
Yeah, I actually messaged him last night. Obviously, he's a tough bugger. And it was a good hit. It's sort of eye to eyes for the ball. And you love physical contact in footy, but you hate seeing guys get injured. So I made sure he's all right last night, and I think he's in good spirits.
Cripps explaining, Sean, the Blues haven't given up on their faint finals hopes. Neither have the Bombers. I've spoken one-on-one with Cale Hooker. We'll have that interview and more shortly in our bulletin at 6 o'clock here from the Gold Coast.
Looking forward to that one. Thanks, Tom. Tom Brown there. Well, Melbourne defender Jake Lever says he wasn't surprised to see teammate Bailey Fritsch dropped after he was 10 minutes late to training last week, with the club determined to build a strong off-field culture.
Yeah, I think that it's a really strong message from the leaders of the footy club and the coaching staff, and I'm sure no one's going to be late anymore to training.
Max Gawn looks set to back it up from a troublesome knee issue and be right for Thursday's clash against the Swans. Melbourne City says it's a bitter pill to swallow after losing a heartbreaking grand final to Sydney FC 1-0 in extra time. City was controversially denied a goal for being offside and blocking the goalkeeper's view.
It does suggest that his vision is impaired.
I'm sure we will learn about this experience, and we will come back stronger, I'm sure.
Socceroo Ryan Grant sealed the win as the Sky Blues celebrated their 5th championship in the A-League. Daniel Ricciardo equalled his best performance in a Renault and drove the fastest lap to finish 4th at the Belgian Grand Prix. Antonio Giovinazzi's heavy crash sent a wheel flying into the car of George Russell. The protective halo around the cockpit may have saved Russell's life.
The wheel just came from nowhere, and you feel very fortunate to have the halo on, because I could have gone quite near the helmet.
Lewis Hamilton's 5th win of the season extended his championship lead. There was an incredible finish to the BMW Championship in Chicago. World #1 Dustin Johnson did this to force a playoff.
He gave it a great run. He gave it a great run! In style.
Then Spain's world #2 John Rahm lined up this outrageous 20-metre curler to win.
Here it comes. Here it... Watch out!
Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman made next week's Tour Championship. Adam Scott dropped 4 shots in 4 holes to crash out of the top 30. Jack, that's all for sport.
OK, thank you very much, Sean. World War II veterans have been acknowledged for their service, receiving special commemorative medallions. It's been 75 years since the end of the conflict, but the passage of time hasn't slowed one old digger down.
Kevin Kerrin is 95 years young. Every Monday and Thursday, the World War II veteran rides his tricycle to the Grange Golf Club in Adelaide, where he's the oldest active member. It's there he meets up with the young lads, his golfing buddies aged in their 70s and 80s.
He can hit a ball straighter than any of us, believe you me.
I hope to make 95. I don't think I'll be playing golf.
I suppose I've looked after myself. I've never been interested in alcohol, I've never smoked, and those sort of things do help.
And he says that's what's helped him live a long and active life. Married in 1949, he's a great-grandfather who worked as a lawyer for many years, studying the profession after he returned from the Second World War. He enlisted when he was just 18 and served in New Guinea in the Air Force, and his service has recently been acknowledged. Kevin received a commemorative medallion marking 75 years since the end of World War II.
I don't look for these sort of things, but it's a nice thing to have.
Elise Baker, 7 News.
A great story. Thank you for being with us here on 7 News this Monday. Our top stories are next, plus the very latest weather.
Samuel Johnson's won a gold Logie, an Order of Australia. even Dancing with the Stars. But they all had one thing in common. He was wearing clothes.
You know, my sister died a couple of years ago, and this is a chance for me to have fun again.
Not on the thing.
It's not a cricket game unless you get ejected, mate. This will be the hardest thing I have ever attempted. The thought of it makes me anxious.
This is the all-new Monty.
Guys and gals.
Only on 7.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
At Mavers, we make the best tasting spreads for all Australian families. We simply roast and crush fresh peanuts with a dash of sea salt. Mavers peanut butter tastes so good it goes with almost anything, and sometimes with nothing.
Red Rock Deli. Discover a world of deliciousness.
With Airwick, you can escape to our iconic Australian beaches, wherever you are. New Airwick Pure Beach Escapes, only at Woolworths.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Happy birthday!
Today, Dad got me a car for my 18th. Man, I miss him so much.
Help your family's life go on, even after yours. Search Medibank Life Insurance today.
New Schwarzkopf Biotech Pro Balance combines the latest hair technology with prebiotic actives and birch water to nourish hair and scalp. New Biotech Pro Balance.
Invest with Latrobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager, returning a current variable rate of 4.5% reviewed monthly on a 12-month investment. Make your money work harder for you. Call 138010.
Ready to make the switch? If you've got to download a new app today, go with the one that will stay the distance. The betting choice is easy. Ladbrokes. Back yourself.
What scares a chaser?
This is a perfect combo. Different genders, different generations. You're a super team.
Question after question.
Correct. What teamwork?
Lucky our chasers never run from a super team.
Challenge accepted.
New The Chase, weekdays on 7.
This is a live look at our city right now here on 7's Afternoon News. Jane Bunn is here with the forecast in just a couple of minutes. Right now, though, Peter Mitchell is working on tonight's edition of 7 News at 6. And Mitch, thousands of homes have spent a fourth day without electricity.
That's right, Jackie. It's been a long few days for many households in Melbourne's east following Thursday night's storm. AusNet has been working to restore power, but it's been a struggle for many families over the last few days. Tonight we'll hear from the company on why it's taken so long and when electricity should be restored to everyone. Also, the largest study of its kind underway in Australia, looking at links between a woman's health and the medical conditions in their baby. Scientists want to help reduce the risk of illness in a child by studying their mother before she falls pregnant. Jackie, on a day case numbers plunged but COVID deaths soared. We'll have the latest on the Premier's plan to get us out of lockdown at 6.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Thank you very much, Mitch. Let's take a quick look at Melbourne's roads now.
Good afternoon, it's Jess in the Tassal Salmon traffic chopper, just checking out a truck. He forgot how tall he was. He's stuck under the bridge. This is in Albert Park, the light rail bridge at Canterbury Road and Kerford Road. It's actually a dumpster truck and he didn't quite make it through. Needless to say, vehicles are not able to make their way under this rail bridge, I'd say for at least a few hours. Spag bowl night, stir fry for dinner. Switch it for salmon this week with fresh or smoked Tassal salmon. Tassal, it's Tasmanian for salmon.
There are no visitors at the moment, but here's a sweet reminder that life goes on at Melbourne Zoo. It's been revealed a baby spider monkey was born earlier this month. The infant is clinging tightly to mum Isabella, so keepers have been unable to see whether it's male or female. The new arrival will boost efforts to protect the endangered species. So cute. Time now for an update on the weather with Jane Bunn. Hello, Jane. I cannot wait for spring to begin.
Oh, Jackie, it has felt like a very long winter, and that ends today, at least on the calendar. Fittingly, today is the chilly day of the week. We've only reached a top of 12.5. It was just 7 at 8 o'clock this morning. Showers have continued to stream across Gippsland and southeast Melbourne, with the occasional one making it further west from there. The clouds spread just over the Great Divide into the north, but much of the north of the state was sunny today. It is a cool start to the week. Almost 24 degrees yesterday, but outside now it is only 11. It is 7 in Ballarat. The cold front moving over the Tasman Sea brought our chilly temperatures. Now a high is on its way in, but it doesn't linger. By late tomorrow, that is already out to our east as the next cold front approaches. The high makes it all dry tomorrow, but from Wednesday through to Friday, that front and another one that follows should produce some wet weather. It's nothing heavy, there are no large rainfalls here, and it's not wet all the time. We've got long dry breaks. It is warm at the start and cool by the end. The cold fronts do mean that it turns windy again. The winds are breezy to strong from later Tuesday through to Friday morning. Wednesday should be the windiest part of the week. Around the nation tomorrow, Sydney, it's a cool start to spring, a top of 18, but it's just one day. They're 25 on Wednesday, near 30 on Thursday. Hobart, mild and dry tomorrow. Adelaide, lots of sunshine, rising to 20. To Victoria, clearing skies, light winds, a cold air mass. We have widespread frost tomorrow morning, most severe in inland parts of central and eastern Victoria. Then the wind picks up in the west, but that's after patchy fog. We are all dry and generally sunny tomorrow, just some high cloud spreading through. So in Melbourne, it is a chilly start to the day. We've got frost and fog in the outer suburbs, but then there is lots of sunshine. It is all dry. There is just a bit of wispy high cloud that is overhead. Temperatures rising up to 15 tomorrow as northerly winds, they become breezy. Then Wednesday, it is a top of 21, but we'll have some gusty winds in there, Jack.
OK, thank you, Jane. Thank you. And that is all from Melbourne's afternoon news. Thanks for joining us. At 6, Peter Mitchell has the latest on the Australians stranded in the UK due to COVID restrictions. For now, though, from the team, take care.